What up, what up, what up? Thank you for tuning in to the Swish Masters Podcast, and thank you to our sponsor, SS96. Visit ss96.net and use the promo code Swish Masters for 15% off. Yeah, that's right, you heard me right. 15% off on all store items. Hats, hoodies, t-shirts, whatever you need, SS96 has it. Also, don't forget to go and check out that music from Straight Stoner, produced by yours truly. You know what it is, Gut Gang, mobbing, sleepwalking. We out here. Thank you.
All right, welcome back to the Swish Masters Podcast. I'm your co-host QtheGuru.
What up and welcome in. I'm Zay, the executive producer.
All right, so we know NBA Finals is going on right now. If y'all want to know our particular thoughts about the series, you should have checked out our live last night. But don't worry, you can check out the recap on YouTube and on your other podcast platforms. But Zay, even though the NBA Finals is going on, there has been a ton of news going on in both the NBA and WNBA. We got to get into though.
A lot of stuff going on, man. NBA doesn't stop. Basketball doesn't stop. It's year round. I love it.
Definitely not. One of the first things we're going to talk about is WNBA is talking about expansion right now. They could possibly add 2 teams before 2024. And with that, they have a whole bunch of lists of destinations. And of course, you know, this is good for a lot of reasons. One, we know the WNBA is trying to increase its value, you know, and expansion hypes up a lot of news. And of course, you guys know what expansion is. It's when the NBA franchise, in this particular case, WNBA, is going to have expanded teams. And some of these locations include Las Vegas. Yeah, because isn't there already a team in Vegas? So never mind, not just Vegas, but like Nashville and a whole bunch of other teams. I'm going to get the list for you real quick. But your immediate reaction to the expansion teams?
I'm excited, man. I hope to see more cities, more teams. Right now, the WNBA currently has 12 teams. Las Vegas, Chicago, Atlanta, you know, a lot of major cities. But we live in a pretty decent-sized country, and there are fans all over the place. So it's exciting, and definitely want to expand the market for the WNBA. I would love to see another team in Texas, as I'm, you know, based out of Texas, currently on the road. But it's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear it, and I hope that this is something that they can incorporate and build up the market and build up, you know, just the brand. It'll be good for basketball and good for the WNBA and all the people that they inspire, including us. So.
Yeah, and these are the legit cities they're looking at. So Toronto, you got San Francisco, Portland, Oakland, Nashville. So these are just some of the cities that they're looking into. They're like really realistic. So yeah, and they do this. This could be big news for them. The only concerns apparently is with this new buy-in to the WNBA. When you talk about expansion, this means a whole lot of more investments from those cities and from those areas. So when this process starts, we'll be able to see exactly what these teams are valued at. And once those numbers come out, it may lead to some potential issues because we don't know exactly what they're presented to be, what value they're presented to be, and what the value actually is. And we know COVID plays a role too into what the numbers could possibly be. So it's very interesting to see how this will turn out, but hopefully, the announcement of expansion is exciting, and this is just this is just another step that the WNBA can do to kind of globalize its brand even more, particularly here in the U.S. So, but if they can go to Toronto too, that's like a global expansion. That'll be very good for the sport. So, yeah.
Toronto fans love basketball too, man. The Raptors have been very successful, and I feel like the WNBA as well will be very well and do very well and be popular in Toronto. I wonder what the team names would be for these different cities, where if they would like coordinate, with, like you said, Oakland and San Francisco, they like coordinate with the Warriors and stuff like that. For example, like the Washington Mystics and the Washington Wizards. It's kind of cool, but we'll see. I definitely hope that the research is going well and they can find a good fan base and cities that are willing to finance and be a part of this. I feel like it can only help a lot of these other cities as well. So,
yeah. And the WNBA, they also have something called a Commissioner's Cup, and if you expand the team, it could potentially affect the regular season tournament. So there's different things that would definitely have to be adjusted when this happens. Also, you can look at media. If they expand the teams, that means you get more media contracts, right? Particularly for those teams in those areas. It all spells like a whole lot of positives, really. And I'm excited for the WNBA. I think we both are.
Absolutely. Great exposure. And obviously with anything that comes with media, the NBA, or, big franchises like this, it comes with a risk with revenue and stuff like that, which has been a big issue within the WNBA. But I think this is a good step in the right direction. And if they're talking about expansion, they must have a good, plan going forward. So hopefully we may see a team near us. We'll see.
We'll see. So be on the lookout for that. Definitely by 2024. That's the timeline, according to the commissioner.
It's pretty quick too.
Yeah, and with all this expansion talk, of course, there's expansion rumors in the NBA, and that's where I kind of misspoke for the WNBA. In the NBA, there's always rumors about expansion teams potentially being in Vegas, so that's where I slipped up at. But Adam Silver actually addressed it before the final started. He had a press conference. He talked about several different issues, and in one of his pressers, he talked about the rumors of league expansion. He was confronted about it, and this is his quote. Part of the quote is there, but he said, "We are not discussing that at this time. As I've said before, at some point, this league will invariably expand, just not at this moment." So it gives you good hope knowing that, hey, expansion will happen, but it doesn't seem like it'll happen by like 2024 like some other people were hoping. But it could happen some on down the line. As you know, the most recent location was just really Seattle Supersonics going to Oklahoma City and become the OKC Thunder. It's really like the most recent. Other than that, you have different like arena changes, but that's not the same thing as like true brand relocation or brand expansion. So yeah, it kind of sucks that we're not going to get it sometime soon, because it'll be definitely profitable for the NBA to have a team in Vegas. For example, especially with gambling being legal now, with sports betting. So that'll be a really profitable place for them. But,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Vegas is crazy, with especially now every game you see draft books and all these online electronic betting type of situations, type of apps and stuff. So definitely would be big, man. I personally, I would love to see a team in Mexico too. I feel like the league is big there, and it's right below Texas. Honestly, you just go a little bit south of San Antonio. That would be pretty cool. I think the league was already doing like a couple of games in Mexico, a couple of games in London, stuff like that. So it'd be awesome. Um, I think we will eventually see it. Just probably not as soon as everyone would like to, but I definitely have heard about Vegas. For years, I've been hearing about Seattle, and I do want to see the return of the Supersonics. No slight to OKC. I like the jerseys. It was a great franchise. I think about Sean Kemp, Gary Payton, big time players, man. It was dope.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So yeah, if expansion does happen, though, we can eventually get 32 teams, most likely. It's super exciting that happens, and not only that, but LeBron James in his most recent show from the shop, from the Uninterrupted, he expressed interest in owning a team. He says, "I want to own a team. I want to buy a team for sure. I would much rather own a team before I talk." He's talking about doing like talk, sports media stuff. Yeah, He said, "Yeah, I want a team in Vegas." So if they do expand, LeBron James could potentially be like an, owner, and there's a good reason why he can do that, because as a lot of you guys heard, this man is now a billionaire. He is the NBA's first active player worth $1 billion. $1 billion. It's crazy. Damn. This is per Forbes, and you all know what Forbes is. They're specialists in doing this stuff. So, man, what's your initial reaction to LeBron being a billionaire?
Man, to be at the level, to be him for one alone is just like crazy. And then to be at the level that he's still at and playing and reaching that mark while playing, it seems like he's not slowing down anytime soon. He's still going, man. That is awesome. Shout out to LeBron for all the great investments, all the contracts he secured, but also like the philanthropic work. I know I saw he also pledged to build a hospital in Akron, $1 million facility. Just the stuff he does off the court and the business savviness he has is crazy. I don't think, I'm trying to think. There's only a few other players or former players that have crossed that mark. Been, obviously Michael Jordan, but it's really amazing to see the work that he's put in on the court and off the court to get to this mark and still be playing. So shout out to him, man. Shout out to LeBron. And LeBron, if you're watching this, the Swish Masters Podcast, we're a big fan. We feel like you can be a great friend of the podcast. If you wanna do some appearances, some contributions, we can team up. We can do a lot of things, man. So shout out to LeBron.
Yeah, shout out to LeBron. And this has actually been the goal of his for a while. He did an interview with GQ back in 2014. He was saying, this is a quote, "I want to maximize my business. And if I happen to get it, if I happen to be a $1 billion athlete, oh, hip hop hooray, oh my God, I'm going to be so excited." Of course, he was definitely more excited than I just paraphrased. Anyway, this is definitely something he's been planning on a long time. This is just naming some of the things he's done. Of course, he's gotten a lot of revenue from on the court in his contracts, and he also has a lot of things going on off the court. For example, he just starred in Space Jam, a new legacy, right? He has a stake in his production company, which does a lot of work in productions, right? Such as Space Jam and The Shop, right? and they also doing the docu-series with Naomi Osaka. They're doing a whole bunch of things. They're also getting ready to remake House Party. Like LeBron James is out here doing like big money moves, and some other things he's done is just from just other investments. For example, he's made money from the sale from when Dr. Dre sold Beats. He made money from that. He shares a stake in a fitness company with Beachbody. He is a part of Fenway Sports Groups, and this sports groups owns a lot of different things. They own Fenway Park, Liverpool, the Red Sox, different things like that. He does a lot of other things in real estate, and he has like a couple of homes. So all these things and all these investments all over the years has really like helped him. For example, one last example, he invested into a pizza chain back in 2012, right? Mm-hmm. And now, because of that investment, he's making like over like $30 million from that small investment. That investment was like less than $1 million back in 2012. It's a pizza chain called Blaze Pizza. This is when he was in Miami Heat back then. So yeah, so like these are like strategic moves, and to be able to be the first active NBA player this is a high achievement.
Absolutely.
And like you say, even though he's still doing so much charity work and building schools, man, and now like you said, he's about to build a hospital in the Ohio area, right, in Akron. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is amazing. It's definitely inspiring. It means like whatever you do, you can just you can definitely reach your goal as long as you work at it. And investing smart is so important, and I think a lot of us can just stand and learn from this. This fiscal and financial responsibility and being smart in investments. So yeah, shout out to LeBron, man. That's no more I can say.
Absolutely, bro. It's very inspiring to see a black man, a black athlete doing what he does. We didn't even mention Nike. So much,
Nike, yeah.
So much that he's done that we can't even name it all, bro. But very, very inspired. And if I was a young player, a young person, I had access to, pick his brain, or just shadow him for a day. Take the opportunity, man. Like, there's a lot you can learn from this guy on and off the court. Obviously, one of the greatest of all time, basketball-wise, and one of the richest people that we, that we know personally. Well, not personally, but that we know. in a large light like him. Like,
yeah. Maybe one day, personally, I don't know. We'll see.
We'll link up. We'll put on the project together.
We'll see.
Bro, I got beats. I got sound production. We here. Swish Masters. We ready.
Yeah. So, speaking of LeBron, of course he plays for the Lakers right now. The Lakers introduced a new head coach. He had an introductory press conference that went over pretty well. At some point, like after the conference, he posted a video to fans, to Lakers hopefuls. He made 3 promises: that the team would be competitive, that they'll be together, and that they will hold themselves accountable. Now, I thought this press conference was great. If you're a Laker fan, you should be very encouraged about Darvin Ham and his press conference. I think a lot of you will be wondering, okay, that's not going to change the fact that they have Russell Westbrook on the roster. They talked about that at the conference too. And he said he had several conversations with Russ. And Russ was actually there at the press conference. He said the biggest word that came out of those discussions was sacrifice. This is what Ham said. We're going to sacrifice whatever we got to do. And it's not just Russ. It's going to be sacrifices that LeBron has to make, that AD has to make, on down the line through the rest of our roster. He says we have to start on the defensive end. I'm expecting him to be the same tenacious, high-energy player that he's been his entire career. A lot of it now may happen without the ball in his hand. Most of it may happen on the defensive end. But we have to sacrifice. There's no achieving anything without all parties sharing the load, sacrificing, and depending on one another. So, this is just one little sound bite, well, not sound bite because I ain't play sound, but quote from like a whole bunch of quotes that were really, really impressive from Darvin Ham.
Yeah.
He mentioned he was talking about sacrificing and accountability. These are all the things that I definitely think the Lakers need. So I'm excited. I don't know about you. What's your reaction?
Yeah, I like the hire. I like what his message in the press conference and to the guys, to the big stars, right? To sacrifice. It's not the first time I feel like I've heard that when you have the pairing of these type of superstars, LeBron, D-Wade, Bosh, they all have to make sacrifices, whether it's through salary, on the court, understanding their role. And if you want to win a championship, you want to get to that ultimate goal, that's what it takes. And understanding the assignment of what you need, what I need to do on the floor in order for my team to be better, not for me to just get mine. You know what I mean? And I don't think any of those guys are like, oh, I got to get mine. I've never thought Russell Westbrook would be that way. LeBron obviously has come out and said he's a pass first guy. Anthony Davis is going to just do what he needs to do. But the fact that Darvin Ham is reinforcing that and giving that message, holding them accountable, and that visibility that we see in the press conference is a great sign. I feel like it's gonna be a grind in the off season for these guys. I mean, they should be right now, and I look forward to seeing how they do. I think they'll be more competitive, and I think they have a lot of respect for Darvin Ham, knowing his background with the Bucks and the Hawks and all these teams, and where he helped take Giannis and all that stuff, man. So I definitely like the hire, and I also like they brought on Darvin Ham's former teammate Rasheed Wallace, who, as we know, was a very physical, great player, man, former All-Star. So I'm excited, man. I can't help but think about some of the memes I saw with Rasheed Wallace, but with Anthony Davis. But we'll see how it goes. I hope they play tough, and if anything, I feel like they'll be good defensively.
Yeah, they're on the right track hiring Rasheed, man. I forgot about that. Good point. This also shows you that they really are giving the keys to Darvin Ham to hire whoever he wants. It doesn't seem like Kurt Rambis and them are not having any impact, on that front, which is a good sign, So all signs are pointing up right now, Just to have Russell Westbrook there at the press conference to show the support. I don't think no other players were there except Russ, so that's a good sign at least. Yeah, I'm excited to see how it's going to work out, and for him to go out and make these promises here, that's pretty bold. I remember another quote on top of my head. He was also talking about being fearless. He has no fear. He was talking about how he was like shot in the face, right? Back from where he was from, and how there's only two ways to respond to that, and how he has been fearless in the response. So he seems like a very good, high character guy. Again, you gotta be excited about the hire for sure.
Absolutely, man. I think he'll bring a toughness mentality. Well, obviously, him and Rasheed will bring a toughness mentality for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Also, this is a side note. I watched a highlight reel of Darvin Ham. I was like, he was a monster, like athletically. I was like, wow, I didn't even know. I remember seeing him a little bit, but I was like 8 when the Pistons won in 2004. I was like, okay, but I knew his name. But I looked him up. I was like, I encourage everyone check out Darvin Ham dunk highlight reel. Like
Yeah,
it's
there was
crazy.
there was a dunk contest with Kobe.
Was he? He might have been.
I think he was.
But he was a monster. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's his playmates. I think he's gonna do well as a coach too. So I like what he's bringing to the table so far and his message.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. 1997. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All right. Yeah. Darvin Ham, man.
Bro,
All right. And the fact that he was able to, he coached Kobe a little bit, you know,
yep, he did.
and had Kobe actually like, you know, complimented him. That shows so much stock into like this hire too, you know.
Yep.
So yeah, you should definitely be encouraged as a Lakers fan.
Definitely a player's coach.
Yeah, definitely. And you can look at the success of all the other assistants like Ime Udoka, Taylor Jenkins. We just talked about that too. You know, they're having a whole bunch of success. So,
Absolutely.
definitely.
It's good stuff.
I remember we were talking about the press conferences that Adam Silver had from the finals. As a result of this hiring, he was talking about how the NBA now has 15 black head coaches, which is awesome. He also brought up other points in that conference. He talked about possibly making tweaks. You know, we had a really good discussion about the All NBA teams. If you haven't seen that, check it out. It's on YouTube, podcast stuff. Yeah. Anyway, so our biggest gripe with it was that the game now is positionless. And with this voting system, they're forced to vote based on position. And we talked about how players get like contract bonuses, and it can affect their money if they don't get on this list, especially when they deserve it. Particularly, we were talking about Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. You know, there's no way Joel Embiid should have been second team, but he was. Yeah. There's no way. That is a disgrace.
Yeah. It's crazy. When you said deserve, I thought about Pat Bev. I was like, don't let Patrick Beverly hear you say about who deserves what. He'll have a fit, man. But I agree, man. I'm glad to hear from the commissioner and that they're at least taking into consideration, because like you said, we've seen 6'5" guys like playing forward and center at times now, and it's becoming more of a norm. And for Joel Embiid to not be first team, but he was second in MVP voting across the league, is kind of absurd to me, because I'm thinking, if by my mind is that if you're in the MVP voting, you're considered the top players in the league of that season. So I hope that they make that change.
Yeah, and this is the exact quote again. This is like the day of Game 1 of the finals. He was doing the press conferences. So, yeah, he said, in terms of determinations for All NBA, I think a fair amount of consideration is going to whether the media should just be picking top players than be picking by position. He also said, I think we are a league that has moved increasingly toward positionless basketball, and the current system may result in some inequities based on the happenstance of what your position is. So that's something we're looking at. It's something that we will discuss with the Players Association, because it has an impact on incentives and players' contracts, and it has, deep meaning for their legacy as well. So we will look at those things. Another good point right there that you said, this does play an impact on legacy. When we compare players, particularly across generations and eras, we look at, okay, how many All-NBA team selections did you get? Because that tells you, okay, these were the top players. But the game being so different now, we don't have just like pure centers anymore. You don't even have pure point guards anymore like that. The game is so different. I mean, you have a small forward in LeBron James who's technically like a point guard. Like, the game is so different. You have center and Joel Embiid that can just handle and shoot, and Jokic for sure handle the ball, pass, shoot, almost everything he can do.
Point center, yeah.
Literally, you can have point centers now, right? And this was unheard of about 30 years ago.
Less than that, probably 20 years ago is
point.
when, because I mean the stretch four became a thing, and then from there it just went crazy. I mean, look at the Celtics right now. We talked about this a little bit last night too. They don't have a point guard. They don't have a true point guard by definition, by play style. They don't have it, but it worked for them. I mean, Jaylen Brown brings the ball up. Tatum brings the ball up. Smart brings the ball up. So we're in a time period of basketball where the PF, the PG, the C, it doesn't really matter. You're a player. You're just a piece of the puzzle, and you do what it takes to win. So
yeah, I really hope they make this change before next season, because Joel Embiid really did get snubbed. There's no way you're a top 3 MVP candidate and not get All NBA first team.
I agree.
There's no way. No way.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully they implement that.
I mean, they do All-Star.
Huh?
Which what we said too. They do it All-Star. You can have a starting lineup with guards, really,
basically,
if you want.
Yep. Like, it's a very good point. If they can do that, then they can also do it for this. Because again, this affects their bottom line. It can affect their legacy. I hope they get this done sooner than later. Yeah. Out of that same press conference, there's also conversations about someone asking about shortening the NBA season. And apparently he's open to it. He's apparently open to changing the format of the season. So, yeah, this is very interesting here, because we already went. We remember the COVID year and the bubble year. That was so weird, And with so many players being injured, I think this just raises the conversation again about shortening the NBA season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts on that? Should the NBA shorten this NBA season? Typically, to remind y'all out there, typically the season is 82 games. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good option to consider, man, because especially COVID hit 2020. That was a weird time, man, to go. I don't know, it was like a month or two, just everything stopped, like literally everything in the world. But the NBA was like, then they brought the bubble. But a lot of guys have had COVID. A lot of people have been, their lives have been altered by it, and it's unfortunate. And I feel like, then the next seasons we had a lot of injuries because guys weren't able to get into the gyms and work out to get their regular routines. So it changed a lot, and I think it's a smart decision, and it's a way to keep the players safe. 82 games is a lot, and as an NBA fan, I'm gonna be honest. I will not catch 82 games, all 82 games that the Heat play or any team. I catch games when I can. And another thing I've heard about with the positives of shortening the season is that this makes every single game a little bit more valuable, a little bit more of a concern to these teams, because now you don't have 10, 20 games you can take off and be like, oh, we'll be good, whatever. Each game's going to count a little bit more, which means that the games will be a little bit more competitive. By playoff time, that, especially with playing tournaments and stuff like that, those games are going to mean a lot more to these teams. And potentially shortening the season can mean that guys have a little less wear and tear by the time they get to the playoffs, so maybe even the playoffs are more competitive than they are. I think it's a good idea to shorten it. I'm not sure when that will take place, but I do think it's a good option to consider for sure.
Yeah, we won't talk about them Silver being opened up to a mid-season tournament. He's been talking about that for a little bit. We'll get into that in a second. This is his exact quote when he was asked about it, and the question was posed to him about players being injured and not being in the playoffs, and if they think that shortening the season will help with the injury. So this is his quote right here. As I have said before, what we don't see is increased numbers of injuries as the season goes on. It's not as if because of fatigue over the course of a season, you see more injuries. We do see a connection between actual fatigue, for example, from back-to-backs or 3 in a row. We think that can potentially lead to more injuries. So basically, he will only do it if it can prove that it will help them to mitigate injuries. I will give Silver credit for that. He has gotten rid of a lot of back-to-backs.
Mm-hmm.
And they're definitely not playing 3 games in a row anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I do give Silver credit for that. He's just looking at the data and seeing, okay, what can possibly lead to injuries. So, and as commissioner and for your business, I understand that, because less games means less revenue, particularly for your local area these teams are in, and for media contracts. The more games you have, the more games you can show on TV, things of that nature. But you also brought up a good point. Us as fans, there's no way we're watching 82 games. Because the normal fan, I believe the average fan is probably doing other things other than just watching NBA. Now, you may have some fans that are just really hardcore watching every game. But that may not be the case if you have other things going on, like, taking care of different responsibilities you may have. The obligations to your families or your jobs that may prevent you from watching games. And if I'm not watching 82 games all year, then what right do I have to say, oh, they shouldn't be they being like the old man on the porch type thing, like a lot of these players are doing right now. Like, oh, we play 82 games, y'all ain't go ahead and play. You're not even gonna watch 82 games straight. So why? I believe fans are going against it. We have no right to really say anything. Us as fans should not have a right to say anything if we can't even watch 82 games. But all we gotta do is just sit there and watch something when these dudes are actually playing.
Right.
That's a good point. And on the other side of that is when you gotta compare across eras, the number of games, will that matter? And would that be something that always hold against you? It's definitely a debate one could have, but I definitely don't see it being changed anytime soon. I'm glad he got rid of back-to-backs, but I don't see him changing 82 games. I mean, honestly, you have something called load management. Have you heard of that before? Load management is basically allowing players to rest whenever they want to, and that's a whole nother issue. Because you're a fan, you buy a ticket, you expect to see this player, but they're out due to load management. Which I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, but at the same time, that's going to be a whole nother issue once the CBA comes around. I'm really interested to see what that's going to be like with the Ben Simmons stuff and the Kyrie stuff and James Harden stuff and the load management stuff. It's going to be this CBA right here. I hope we don't get another lockout. This next CBA right here is going to be serious. We'll see how it goes, but that's my immediate reaction to that. I don't see him shortening the season anytime soon.
Yeah, same here. I don't think it's happening anytime soon. I just think it's something that they should at least consider. I mean, like you said, at the end of the day, fans aren't watching all 82 games. The average, or even big time fan isn't able to catch every single game, I feel like. And these are guys that are we it's entertainment for the people, but the players, it's their job to do it, and they sacrifice their bodies every week, every day. You know what I mean? So, um, I'm open to it, and we'll see what goes down, man.
Yeah. Remember, let's get back to the mid-season tournament thing. He gave an update on it. He said it still remains on the table, but it's not finalized yet because they have to still have discussions with the NBPA and things of that nature. So, but the fact that they're even considering to have a mid-season tournament, does that play into the idea of that, okay, we need to do something to make the regular season more important? Because you gotta do something. Because I feel like the mid-season tournament is just a way to counter load management, you know, to make these regular season games matter even more. You know, I feel like that's just a counter to that, because clearly they're trying to do something, and I want to know what these incentives could be. There gotta be some really good incentives. And we already talked about WNBA earlier having the Commissioner's Cup during the mid-season, so like, I'm not sure what this will be. I'm looking forward to see what the details will be, but I honestly feel like this is a counter to like load management in the regular season, and to make those games matter more, and to prevent tanking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
As far as doing something innovative, something new, I applaud the effort, but when it comes to what the ultimate goal is for teams is to win a championship. And when I think about a mid-season tournament, I don't think players would really buy into the value, wouldn't see value in it, because you're playing a mid-season tournament. What does that mean? Even now, I don't exactly understand the Commissioner's Cup of the WNBA. I get it. It's supposed to be similar to the NCAA, where they play multiple tournaments throughout the year, and then they play in the NCAA tournament, which is like the equivalent of the playoffs. But I don't really feel like players would be like, oh, mid-season tournament, let's go. You know, I feel like it's just kind of a new thing. If it was me personally, I wouldn't look for a mid-season tournament, but I would probably make additions or changes to All-Star Weekend, and maybe look at the potential of making it like an All-Star Week, add new events, adding some, I know, something else we got to talk about. Tracy McGrady has started his one-on-one basketball league. He wants to, something he talked about was adding that to All-Star Weekend. I feel like that would be more of a entertainment value than a mid-season tournament too. But I just don't get the point of it. Like you said, it's probably to mitigate that load management, which I understand. The league is wanting players to play, and obviously fans want to see their favorite players play too on these given nights. But I don't know. I'm not exactly opposed to it. I just don't really understand it enough to be like, oh yeah, I'm all in for a mid-season tournament.
Yeah. Good point. All right. So, other piece of NBA news, we got to talk about some recent coaching news. All right. Quin Snyder. He's been with the Jazz for 8 seasons, man. He resigned.
It's been that long. Huh?
Hey, yeah, I was surprised. 8 seasons, that is definitely a long time. So according to Woj, the Jazz ownership and their management group spent several weeks trying to convince Snyder to return as their coach. And they even offered him a contract extension. But he just said, it's time for me to step away, basically. So he actually provided a statement. He said he was grateful for his time with the Jazz, but his decision came back down to what was best for the team's players. He said, at the core, and what drives me every day is our players and their passion for the game, their desire to constantly work to improve, and their dedication to the game and to the Jazz. I strongly feel they need a new voice to continue to evolve. That's it. No philosophical differences, no other reason. After 8 years, I just feel like it's time to move forward. He also said I needed to take time to detach after the season and make sure this was the right decision. This is why he took some time to make that decision. So Quin Snyder had a very good record over his 8 seasons because the Jazz are a really good regular season team. He actually matched Steve Kerr for the third longest tenure with the team among the active head coaches, and that's behind Greg Popovich with the Spurs and Eric Spoelstra with the Heat. His 372 wins are the second most in Jazz history. They trail Hall of Famer Jerry Sloan's 1,127, so that's a very good, very positive. Yeah. So Snyder has done a lot for Utah and its fan base and its franchise, and to retire after 8 years in that statement, I respect him in his decision, but you gotta think, what are some potential ramifications of that decision? But before we get into that, what's your initial reaction to Snyder resigning?
I did not realize it had been 8 seasons that he was head coach of the Jazz. I respect it. For the most part, in his statement, he understood that there's only so far I can take you as a team, and it seems that became a realization. And sometimes you have to let things go. I think it was just his time, and I think he's been a great coach. Definitely, we talk about this all the time. Utah's been great regular season, but when it comes to getting to that next level, there's something blocking them. And he seems to understand that a different voice sometimes can make a great difference in the mentality, the output, and the outcome of what happens. So, gotta respect that. But shout out to him. He was second most wins in Jazz history, so can't be mad at that.
Not at all. So we also talked about some potential ramifications. There has been a lot of rumblings in the NBA rumor mill about Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. So
quite some time.
A lot of time. And with them stepping down, it's like, what can happen now? Because apparently Quin Snyder was a big reason why Donovan Mitchell signed his extension. And now Quin Snyder is gone. What does that mean? So what are you thinking? You thinking they're gonna trade some players here and move some pieces? I said blow it up from the get-go. I said blow everything up, and it looks like it's happening. That was literally my reaction to when they lost in the first round. I said blow it up. I'll blow everything up. Top players, everybody, just restart. That's what I said, and it looks like they're doing it. So
yeah, I think you might be right, man. Starting with leadership, starting with the coach. He had to step back, and we've talked about this so many times, man. It seems that Rudy Gobert and Donovan have just tolerated each other for maybe like the past 2-3 seasons, honestly. I've heard and I've seen these stats, some of these fake stats on Twitter, but that made me like really pay attention like to how Donovan plays with Rudy on the floor. And I'm like, that's interesting. But I don't see him wanting to just stay. And I think there was a quote from a few months ago, or maybe from April when they lost, that Rudy Gobert was like, it's either me or him. And that may or may not be true, but it seems that they just bump heads a lot, being the two stars of the team. And it hadn't really gotten them far in the playoffs, and that's the ultimate goal. So I don't really see it. I wouldn't be surprised to see them move on or make some kind of move is made, bro. I've been seeing a lot. As soon as that news dropped, everybody's like, Donovan Mitchell's out. Donovan Mitchell's heading to the Heat. He's heading to Boston. Like, there are a lot of
New York. Like, I'm here in New
New
York
York
too. So like,
it's crazy. But I don't really think they should stick together. I mean, it hadn't worked, and I don't know, let me see. He's been there 8 seasons. Donovan's been there since, 2016, 17. Rudy Gobert at least 2013. So it may just be time, man. Sometimes you have to change. A change of scenery can be good for players and organizations. So that's my thoughts, man. I don't know. I don't see it happening immediately, but I wouldn't be surprised, like maybe midway through this upcoming season, this next season, that we see a big move like Donovan Mitchell leaving or getting traded somewhere.
Yep. We'll see where that goes. And Quin Snyder could potentially, whenever Greg Popovich does retire, he could be the Spurs head coach. You know, he could be if he still wants to coach. I'm pretty sure he still wants to coach right now. As far as destinations, I feel like the Spurs would be a good fit because he came from that tree originally. So go back and continue Pop's legacy. You could do that. I don't know. I don't know. Let's just see where he goes from here. I know the Lakers are very interested in him.
Yeah.
I want a part of the reason why he decided now to do this, because this came out after the Lakers hired Darvin Ham. So I wonder if he wanted to avoid that whole spectacle with the Lakers too. I just have to question that, because there are other coaching openings as well, including one with the Hornets, and they found their new head coach, Kenny Atkinson. He's being reportedly offered a 4-year deal. And you've seen this man before. He is currently with the Warriors right now as an assistant coach. He previously coached the Brooklyn Nets. And he is known as a good development coach. He's also another one of those good player coaches. He helped the Brooklyn Nets kind of help become relevant again in a brief stint.
Kyrie.
Yeah, prior to Kyrie, yeah. Remember, this is prior to Kyrie. This is D'Angelo Russell and Spencer Dinwiddie, Caris LeVert. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a good
squad. They had a decent squad. It was on the come up. They're on the come up, man. They had potential. They made some playoff noise a little bit.
They were a fun team, man. Yeah. This is cool.
Yeah, it was cool. And you gotta look at the roster that he's about to have. He's about to have a very talented roster. You got a young all-star point guard in LaMelo. And this is probably going to be the player that the franchise is going to build around, right? You also have Terry Rozier, who was very, very improved since his Celtics days. Yeah, Scary Terry. You also have Miles Bridges, who has improved a lot since his NBA debut. You also have Gordon Hayward. Although he has struggled staying healthy, he's still a valuable piece and a good veteran to have on your squad. So he has a lot of pieces to work with. He has some trade assets he can work with as well. Salary cap he can work with. So this is a good move. And he was hired after meeting with Michael Jordan, of course. So apparently Michael Jordan liked him enough to hire him. This is very good. This is very good. If you're a Hornets fan, I feel like you should be excited about this hire. And he's a very good, like I said before, a development coach. So you just imagine you help take LaMelo to another level, and this very young Hornets team to another level. So yeah, I think this is a more exciting hire than their previous coach. I think it was James Borrego. I hope I pronounced his name right. But yeah, that's it. Shout out to the Hornets. I think this is a good move. I think Michael Jordan made a good move for once. Well, twice. He made a good move drafting Melo. This is another good move.
Yeah. I like the pickup, Kenny Atkinson. I really feel like he's a good, like you said, good development coach who is able to mold young talent, take them to a different level. We started to see that a little bit with D'Angelo Russell getting his first All-Star nod, and still being, pretty much, even though he's dealt with injuries and stuff since his departure from Brooklyn, he's still been a pretty solid player when he is healthy. And I feel like, of course, LaMelo Ball will definitely benefit from that type of development, leadership from Kenny Atkinson. And I think that by no means am I thinking, I like the hire, but by no means do I expect the Hornets to be a top team in the East yet.
No, I ain't say all that now. I just think this is exciting to development-wise. Like, he has a 4-year deal. I expect them to be like, and to be fair, they did make the play-in tournament this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doubting.
I expect them to at least make the play-in next year and to at least make the playoffs. I don't expect them to be contenders, but they can at least be like in the playoffs, though.
Yeah, for sure. I wasn't like saying you were saying that, but I was just thinking the way I see I see him being a good coach for them for the purpose of getting them to a step past the play-in. You know what I mean? I feel like they'll be. I don't feel like they get to in 2 years they'll be top team in the East or top 3, top 4. I feel like he gets them to that like midway where we're competitive and we're gonna be here for the next few years, and then from there, depending on how the team develops and moves that are made, they go further. But I definitely think that he doesn't take them to the top. He bumps them up a notch out of the play-in area to getting to that regular playoff team type status, and we're gonna be hard to beat type of team.
Right.
But it's no slight to him and no slight to the Hornets at all, but I feel like it's a good hire for them, and he's, to me, a relatively young coach that they can grow along with him.
Yeah. Overall, yeah, we both agree it's a pretty good hire.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, good hire. All right, now it's about that time to get into our new segment we like to do here on the Swish Masters Podcast. We like to react to different media posts and NBA Twitter, things of that nature. So this will be our last segment before we wrap up.
Timeline talk. Let's go.
Let's go ahead and react to some of this stuff, man. And one of the first tweets, we kind of talked about this a little bit. LeBron James. I feel like I say it that way. His I Promise Foundation has committed to build the hospital, like you said, man. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but shout out to him again. We talked about this early in the podcast. $1 billion active NBA player is still doing good things with his revenue. So shout out to LeBron James.
Absolutely, man. Love that type of philanthropic work and giving back to his own community. Not only a school but a hospital is amazing, especially in this day and age, and so much is going on. I'm glad to see that he is sticking to it and being part of the community.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's so inspiring, bro. Are you a fan of Stranger Things at all?
I hadn't started the new season, so
yeah, I have not watched the new season yet myself either. It's on my to-do list. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's on my to-do list. But apparently, one of the stars of Stranger Things, Kelly McLaughlin, he paid tribute to Kobe Bryant. And as you see on our screen here, he wore number 8 jersey, commemorating Kobe Bryant, paying tribute to him. So shout out to Stranger Things, man, with these little Easter eggs in here that tie into like real life. And shout out to Kobe Bryant. Shout out to Kobe Bryant. Think about my brother. Shout out to Jacoby too, but shout out to Kobe Bryant. Shout out to Kobe Bryant though. Yeah.
I love this. I'm big into Stranger Things, all kind of, mystery, suspense, mystical, whatever you want to call it, Stranger Things. I feel like it's already one of the best shows Netflix put out there. And just knowing like Caleb McLaughlin, a young dude like that, dedicated, making that decision, making sure he got the number 8 to Kobe, that's awesome, man. Shout out to rest in peace Kobe Bryant. It's awesome. I love it.
It's definitely a nice nod. Definitely a nice nod. So this has been the move lately, right? CJ McCollum is now an ESPN analyst now. He's gonna be part of their team with the NBA. And again, CJ is not retired. He just got through playing in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And look at him now. Like, ESPN is getting all these names, right? They got Patrick Beverly. I'm not sure if he's signed to a contract or not, but he's been making a lot of appearances. I feel like I see him almost every day on ESPN. But now you have CJ McCollum, who had a pretty good debut on ESPN, I may say. And JJ Redick, who's like retired now, but he's a good NBA analyst. But my main thing is that these active players who are now turning media personalities as like a legit B job, their A job is playing the NBA, and to have a whole nother job that's in the media, it's really weird to me. I don't know. What's your reaction to it? I have tons of respect for CJ. I respect his basketball mind and his basketball IQ and all those things. I like his own podcast. I respect his podcast. But it's different from like doing a side, gig or hobby, right? Mm-hmm. Than something that's you're contractually obligated to do. Your podcast you pick up and put down. That's at your leisure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's like, even if it's like not contracted, but this is like a whole nother contractual obligation. It's like you're expected to abide by this contract as well as perform your duties as an NBA player, which is your primary source of revenue. So it's just kind of weird. I don't know. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, man. This actually has not just started with NBA players, but one of my favorite WNBA players, Chiney Ogwumike.
Yep.
Sister of Anika with the Sparks, right?
Good point. Yep.
I mean, for her, it made a lot of sense because she was out with injury. So she could, and Candace Parker, who also is part of TNT Tuesday crew.
Right. Good point.
It makes sense for certain parts with like Chiney's injury. She was out for a while, maybe over a year. So yeah, it was easy for her to slide into ESPN. Candace Parker joining NBA pretty much whenever the WNBA season was over, but obviously there was a little bit of overlap there. But the fact now that we're seeing more NBA players, we saw Draymond, and now we see CJ, and they're actively playing. Like it's kind of weird because they're literally gonna be like CJ is now reporting. But what happens when this comes to October, November, when the season is really getting going? December, are they going to like do a hit, like for their off day and then fly back to the city for the game? It's going to be weird. But I mean, it's from their perspective, it's a heck of a side gig because I'm like, oh, I'm getting to talk about what I do already. So
sure.
For them, it's like, oh, it makes sense. It just is the timing of it is like, gonna be awkward because, like I said, I don't understand how they're gonna schedule this. Are they gonna be remote and just report in, or like they're gonna be shirt and tie on the top, their warm ups on the bottom? reporting from the locker room on CJ McCollum. Like it's gonna be interesting, man. But I also have been a big fan of CJ's radio show podcast. He's very well spoken, very obviously well knowledge in the game. Great debut on ESPN. That was dope. See him first take. But yeah, I agree with you, man. It's gonna be weird, but I'm not mad at it. I mean, do your thing. You can't knock the hustle, right?
Yeah, I think the main thing is that as long as it does not interfere with your primary source of revenue, with your primary job, as long as it doesn't affect them on the floor, it should be fine. But I mean, we could say this with Draymond Green. We talked about this yesterday a little bit. I mean, we didn't get too much detail about it because they won yesterday. But Draymond Green did not show up again. And you know, and despite he made a quote. We didn't get into that quote too much, but you know, he was talking about, I'm still doing my podcast, win, lose, or draw. I'm still doing my podcast. Like, I'm like, but the same thing is though, is like with this podcast, you're highlighting so much, man. You're putting so much pressure on yourself. We talked about that a little bit, but as long as it doesn't affect your on the court performance. I mean, dude got benched yesterday. I ain't gonna lie, dude got benched last night. So something's up. I mean, I don't know. Unless we can just admit that Draymond's just not that dude anymore. But it's tough to say that because he had a decent season. The Warriors are definitely lost without him when he was out. Yeah. Remember with injury, they were definitely impacted. But now that I don't know, it's weird. It's weird, man. It's weird. But shout out to CJ McCollum. I definitely respect him. And shout out to Draymond too. I respect you too, sir. I respect your podcast too. It's weird. I ain't gonna lie, it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's kind of weird to. It seems it's easy to blame the podcast being a distraction or he's.
Because that's the only other thing, man. That's the reason why.
Because it's a public thing, and you can see him talking about. He's talking about what just happened. We all just saw it. And you know it's bad when your own mom is tweeting like, I don't know what's wrong with him. I don't know if he's a clone. Like, I was like, man, that's crazy. But I'm not mad at it. You know what I mean? Like, do your thing. But your main thing right now is being you're in the championship, bro. And I don't think I know he's hard on himself, right? I know he's thinking and he's gonna do all the things that he needs to do as far as watching footage and recovery, everything, but it's because it's so public that people are gonna turn to it like, oh, this is why Draymond is not playing well because he's so focused on the podcast. And I'm very well aware that people can do multiple things at the same time. Like I do it, right? But it just looks bad when it seems like you're playing terribly, but then you go on the podcast and you talk about it. It just is a weird look, especially with him being what we call the mouth of the South. So.
Yeah, good point. It's just something to get used to. This is definitely a new era in the NBA now, though.
It's different, yeah.
This is definitely a new thing now, so you might as well get used to it. This might be here for a minute. It definitely might be here. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. You sent me this the other day, man. There's a 13-year-old phenom who dropped 74 points and 29 rebounds in 45 minutes. If you're watching this live, you're about to pull up a live view of it. Like, okay, these are some of the highlights here. And this kid is doing it all, man. Shooting, dribbling, everything. So I will say this though, the defense is weak. This defense is trash. I ain't gonna lie.
Those are the cones that Pat Bear was talking about.
Yep, these are cones. But I
don't. With disrespect to the kids, they'll get better.
Yeah, I mean, no disrespect to them. But the fact that he still put up that stat line,
I don't
so
care.
Young, it's still impressive. But I just gotta know the defense is trash. But your reaction to this young man here, and his name was let me go back to
Shout out
his
to-
name is Nico Marina. I hope I pronounced your name right, sir.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, shout out to you.
A 13-year-old phenom, man. I don't care whatever like phase of life, whatever stage of basketball you're on. You drop 74. I'm gonna put respect on that name. Shout out to Nico Marina. I hope he continues this, man. That's insane. That's a different level. I only know a few players in NBA history that have put up that type of stat line. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And obviously, he's probably a bit bigger, taller than these guys in the video, right? But the fact that he got 74 points, man, is 74 is
74, 29.
like, okay, 30, 40, even 50, but you go 60, 70, that's different. So shout out to this kid, man. Maybe in a few years, 5, 6, 7 years, we'll see him down the line, maybe come into the league and get some buckets here in the NBA.
Maybe so. We'll see in a couple years. Especially if they somehow change the rule, he come out straight out of high school instead of going G League.
Yeah,
they could.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where he's from. I have to look into it. But if he's from Spain, he can probably be here in 5 years at the minimum.
Good point. All right, let's go to our last topic, man. So, yeah, you pointed this out to me too, man. Some NBA players reacting to street ballers, thinking they could play in the NBA. This is a part of a 30 for 30 from ESPN. I meant to talk to you about this special though too, but this is the original. This is not technically a tweet. This is from Instagram. So just in our segment a little bit, but this is that part. So I want us to react to this. So we're about to watch this little clip. Y'all get. I think the language is bleeped out, so we don't have to worry about that part.
Yeah.
But yeah, y'all. You listen to. Get ready to listen to this though. All right.
We just train professionals. We play basketball on days that we don't want to play basketball.
Yeah, we could have played in the league. No, you couldn't have. You were not taking care of your body. You were not taking the game serious. Let me tell you, man. Everybody jumps high. Everybody's fast. Everybody thinks that they're the world's greatest player. There's only been 5,000 something people in the NBA. Total. Ever.
I remember Hot Sauce going to the Pro-Am, getting his ass bust. Hot Sauce came down there, and they was calling that man catch-up by the time he left.
We celebrated before every game, right? And when we put our body through on and off the court.
Yo, Brad, yo! Damn! Yo, what up?
We probably smoked 300 blunts before we played every city.
Are you kidding me? No way, dude.
All right, man. Listen, I have a lot of respect. Man, listen, I love street hoops growing up, bro. I had a video game and everything, man. They had Hot Sauce and everybody in there. Have Amazing. Everybody in that game, bro. I love street hoops.
Bro, NBA Street V2, V3. Oh, on my original Xbox. Love that, man. Growing up.
but man, they did some. And Hot Sauce was one of those. And Hot Sauce was the one, bro. That Hot Sauce was that dude. And I'm looking forward to seeing the entire special. But just to hear those initial reactions from those NBA players, man, the straight disrespect. I guess I get it. I thought there was some kind of mutual respect there a little bit, but apparently not. I'm not a player, so I don't know. But that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm definitely going to catch that documentary. It's a 30 for 30 special on And1. So definitely y'all check that out. But yeah, what's your reaction to all that, bro? That was crazy, man.
Oh yeah, the greatest mixtape ever. ESPN 30 for 30. But That's crazy. Like, you would think, these guys probably, as NBA players or, street ball players, probably inspire each other, right? But and guys probably take aspects of each other's game and bring it into their respective league. But no, it's a little bit different for some guys, man. And it makes sense because street, as much as the NBA is a form of entertainment, street ball is much more entertainment to me than basketball. And obviously there are talented guys out there that can flat out hoop, but it is a different level. When you talk about the NBA, I think we will say they play basketball on days they don't want to, which is crazy to think, but it's true.
Yeah, I didn't think about that till you brought it up. I was like, very good point. Although this is a game they love, there are some days you don't feel like playing that, So I get it.
People just like regular people. You may not want to go to work, but you still have to.
You gotta go. And street ball makes it seem like it's more of a hobby. You can do it whenever you want to. I mean, they're still getting paid gigs for that stuff, but at the same time, it's like still it was on their time and their schedule apparently. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to watching that documentary to know more about it because just growing up, I just remember seeing all the highlights and all the crazy dribble moves and stuff, bro. But I don't. There's
I love street ball to this day. I still follow the professor from N1. Watching him play guys one-on-one on the streets, man, it's crazy. And it's just funny to think that what they do is more of a hobby, I guess.
Compared to the NBA players, yeah.
I mean,
I'm looking forward to seeing the documentary though. There could be more to it. That was just one clip,
sure.
So
I'm sure it's not every single. It's not an accurate statement for every single player, but
those were a couple of different significant players though. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, Kyrie, absolutely. Baron Davis. I mean, Lou Will. I mean, these are some really good players, and Iman Shumpert was in there. I mean, so yeah. Oh no, bro. It's crazy.
No.
But
shout out to the street players out there. Yeah. I love going to the playground, getting some shots up, getting some games in. I'm not mad at it, but if you want to go to the league, get in shape. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, man. So that's the podcast. Thank y'all for listening and tuning in. We'll be live on Monday after the finals, Game 5. So you want to know our thoughts on that? Look on YouTube and other podcast platforms to see our thoughts on it, see our predictions for Game 5, things of that nature. You have any business inquiries, things of that nature, check out our website. We got links on our YouTube page. Check out all those things. We appreciate all the switches out there. Thank you for your support. We see our subscriber count going up, views going up, listeners going up. So we appreciate y'all. Definitely do.
Absolutely, man. And one more thing before we get out.
Yeah.
I wanted to say this at the beginning of the podcast, but it slipped my mind. But I want to say thank you to you, my co-host, Q. Thank you to all our subscribers, to everyone that's been following us. We hit a year of the Swish Masters Podcast this week. And I just wanted to show appreciation to you, Q. I appreciate all the work you put in, all these wonderful graphics, all the layouts, the website. Man, it wouldn't be possible without you. And thank you to everyone who's been rocking with us since day one and continue to be there with us. We truly appreciate it. Like you said, we still are pushing, and this is only the beginning. So stick with it. Keep liking, sharing, subscribing. Follow on Spotify, Apple, Anchor. We're out here. So thank y'all.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all, man. That's definitely a milestone, a year. We're coming up this week.
Great.
Looking back from where we started, where we at now, it's definitely a huge improvement. Y'all can see yourselves on the videos on YouTube and our podcast, bro. It's definitely changed a lot in the years worth of time, man. And I appreciate you and everything you're doing with the podcast. Make sure the audio is straight, putting our getting our promotions and our sponsorships in order. Shout out to our sponsor again too. So yeah, Straight Stoner. So yeah, man, we appreciate all y'all, man, all the support. It's definitely needed, and looking forward to you guys' continued support as we continue and move on with the Swish Masters brand and content. So yeah, man. So again, we'll be here again Monday night live. We'll reach out to y'all, let y'all know when. Find out we're on Facebook as well. We just put posts on there. Follow our social media to know when exactly we'll go live again. But typically, for our finals games, it's typically like around 10:30, 10:45, depending on when the game ends. So yeah, check us out then. It'll be right after the game is over. So check it out.
Absolutely. Thank y'all.
Yeah. All right, this is QtheGuru. I'm signing off.
Say the executive producer. We'll see y'all Monday. Appreciate it.
Yep. Appreciate y'all.
What up? Thank you for tuning in to the Swish Masters Podcast, and thank you to our sponsor, SS96. Visit ss96.net and use the promo code SWISHMASTERS for 15% off. Yeah, that's right. You heard me right. 15% off on all store items. Hats, hoodies, t-shirts, whatever you need, SS96 has it. Also, don't forget to go and check out that music from Straight Stoner, produced by yours truly. You know what it is, Gut Gang, mobbing, sleepwalking. We out here. Thank you.